My first question is actually to Sangita ji. Uh, I'm sure you've engaged with the camera before, uh, in some manner or the other. But what I would like to know is, how was your engagement with the camera different this time during the making of the film? And if you would like to share something about that.
Yeah, Shivani, am I audible? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, let me tell you that this film Quest was never meant to be a film. So like it was just I was trying to document my creative impulses during those first phase of lockdown. So I didn't know that what am I doing actually. I never had a clear vision of what is going to happen. These were like small bits and pieces that I was documenting. But during that documentation itself, as you rightly said, that we had some of the other kind of experience with dancing in front of camera, but that was very, very different. You know, whether we have danced it like on stage and somebody is doing the shoot, or there is some TV shoot or something like that. So that has been like somebody else's headache. We were like only to dance there, you know. So here for the first time I realized that because as I said, that nothing was planned, so and it has been done with minimalistic, it has been done with my mobile camera. So with minimalistic infrastructure. So in that case, I was very cautious about, even if I'm taking the film, that what is the camera for me was an identity there. It has had its own vision. So for the first time, I realized that I, as a subject, am communing with another subject, I would say. So that is a very interesting revelation that happened to me, where I realized that it is uh, not only the way I am dancing, but some the camera for the first time I realized it has its own eye. So that was a great revelation for me. And of course, uh, uh, there were many things which I kept learning during those moments of creating these small bits and pieces. I kept on learning that every aspect of camera is changing the direction of my the perspective of my dance in space and time. So that was also quite interesting for me to understand. Yeah.
And did you enjoy this newfound relationship?
Come again, Shivani? Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that just got a little bit, yeah. Come again, please.
Uh, so you were talking about how it was a very different experience from
Yeah,
your previous engagement with camera, but
yes.
was did this engagement make you uncomfortable, or did you enjoy it? Did you take to it easily? How was it?
See, the question of no, I was absolutely not uncomfortable. Why?
Okay.
Because per se, that could be one thing in my psyche, that I didn't know what is happening. Because had I knew that it is going to come out as a film, maybe I would have been conscious. But because I was not aware what is happening, so I was not conscious. And moreover, it was something very exciting for me to see how the camera is responding. So I was not uncomfortable. I was rather intrigued. It was quite an um, I was very much interested that I'm looking my own dance in a very different perspective, from the perspective of camera, which I personally have not seen. Maybe the other people who might have done a shoot on me might have seen, but being a dancer, when you see your film, your bite in a very different perspective, has 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 given me a lot of learning, I would say. Yeah.
That's really nice, actually.
Mm.
Which actually brings me to Sumedha's question, because her relationship with the camera and generally the medium of film, it's familiar playground for Sumedha. But what was, if at all, was there a change um, in your approach to the film that you made? Was with the situation, the larger situation around us, the lockdown, the pandemic, did that change your at all?
Yeah, okay. Am I audible? Yeah, thanks a lot for this question. Actually, it's also related to what Sangeeta ji was also sharing. The relationship with the camera from a dancer's lens is a pretty different lens in a way, because we also have this choreographic aspect to it, how we design for the camera. So I think it's no, it's a very actually you would I would say that it's still a very explorative at a very explorative stage right now for me as well. Even though I'm proficient with the camera from my dad only, who was a photographer, but I have been just playing with the film medium very as late as 2018, very new to this, and constantly evolving, constantly learning. So I don't know whether I'm still familiar. There's so many unfamiliar aspects to it, but yes, it is still a playground. Like it's a fun. For me, it is something that is fun. Something that is for an experiment where I am allowed to fail. Also, so it's that space. I can fall. I can get up. I can have that relationship. So in this lockdown, to answer your second part of the question. Yes, it changed because the previous times I have engaged with the camera as a cinematographer, as holding the camera, again as dancers, as shooting another dancer before, but very from a very technical perspective. Okay, film and and dance, very choreographic, very editing. Like you have to have a good editing software, all these kind of things. But this pandemic actually changed that perspective for me, because it gave me a relationship that is more accessible. Like I can extend my hand and hold the camera and do something with it and play around with it, that is why it was very different and very new too. I mean, it's a new exploration where I can give myself a lot of freedom, even if it's in a confined space. There's a lot of freedom to it, uh, that way, if that makes sense. But yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. And okay, so the next question sort of goes to Sangita ji. You shared with us certain learnings that you've had, but would you like to tell us if you faced any challenge uh, in the process of making the film, and were you able to adapt your practice of dance to the requirements of the medium? Because I believe that as dancers, we are so used to giving a one take or a one time sort of a performance, I often, if I have to be in front of the camera, I forget that this could need another thought, and that really makes me anxious, because it's like, oh my god, I have to give it all over again, because we're not used to it. So maybe it's just the difference of the two mediums. But did you face something similar? Did you face maybe some other challenges?
Yeah, Shivani. So you are right that when we are performing, we have to, perform at a go, and there is no retake in that, right? But here, I would say it was a challenge and at times a blessing as well. So the challenge was when I would do something which was obviously I thought it would be the best I could do, but because of certain angle or certain some other thing which haven't worked out, whether it's the light, the kind of light I wanted. See, everything was natural. I did not use any, external this thing. You would see that in a film I used a corridor light with the, a little bit of door was opening, and I suddenly one day afternoon, I was lying down and I saw that corridor, and I got up and I said, I need to use this light. So that was such, impulses. In fact, that light gave me the inspiration to walk through that line, the corridor. So all that happened very organic way, I would say. Nothing was planned. So it every moment was giving me hint that let's play with this. So the entire thing, what I had in mind, let's play with it. So when I got that light, I thought, let's play with it. And at times when I played it well, but the camera didn't support, I was, of course, that was a challenge. But at times it went the other way around also. So it was like, I performed well, but then again, the camera had some other role to play. So yes, it was challenging. But as Sumedha also said, that it gave me a lot of playfulness to understand. Especially, I would say there is another scene where I am doing a Kathak Ahmad, you see, like ta ta thei 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 tat. So there I did two shoots. One I did with a different, the way we have learned it traditionally. It's like it is an Alingan Kamar. Ta ta thei 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 tat. So it has the impact of embracing. And suddenly, the other day, the impulse came, and there were cloths hanging, outside for drying up. And suddenly, I thought that why not I do a shoot there where I would treat the same Ahmed with a very different feel. So I did the same Ahmed, but here the entire thing was ta re, re, that the fear and anxiety. And somehow I thought I would design it with the kind of uncertainty behind. So everything was very organic for me. So I think uh, the sets here, which otherwise set we would call in on stage, became my inspiration to handle the things. Yeah.
Okay, so I think both of you have really enjoyed the process.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm looking forward to more. I tell you that this has given, वो शेर के मुंह में खून लग जाना types हो गया है, and I'm looking forward to do something really mad about it. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So, Subeda, would you like to share your learnings from the screen dance experiment that you did? And before you respond, would you like to tell us a little bit more about screen dance and what is it and how is it different from a dance film?
Okay, all right. I can try to share that. So to respond to the second part of the question, I guess. Actually, screen dance is also something that I was introduced like in 2018 only, like, but as a part of a course in University of Roehampton in London, and it was an interesting course. It was called Mediated Choreography, and it just, as we were all dancers. We, especially with batchmates that I was with, they were not proficient in camera. Like some people never even they avoid the camera too. So it was a new learning in a way, in terms of looking, as even Sangita ji was sharing. It gives a new vision to look at your own practice. And see explore the possibilities. So screen dance, as far as I have known from the perspective of how it is defined, uh, would be something like, uh, where the movement of the camera, and it's not just the moving, like you're not taking the camera as a passive tool, but it is also like how you're playing with the movement of the frames, movement of the editing, rhythm in the edit, and sound of it or absence of it. So it's also like when dance, and I think I something that has stayed with me, it always keeps in my head when I want to see dance as film. Like if dance was seen as a film, something that is possible on screen is not possible on the stage. You make it possible for the screen to just very briefly share around screen dance. But I think it is perceived, since it's still a very westernized understanding where I understood it. I think my quest as Sangita ji's film is also like, this is also a quest for me too, uh, to perceive a different, like, how do we perceive the screen dance here? It's not just Bollywood, I guess. It's more than that. So uh, it's an exploration actually right now. That is what I think I leading towards. Like, what is it that, how, I mean, it gives us a research element to it. But what was your first question? The first of learnings from the screen dance, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
How?
yeah. I think the learnings. Wow, yeah, it is. It's I think very very similar to Sangeeta ji actually. Is that it's just. I think a lot of it was still like, I think maybe because we have a background of a classical dance, it is, we are constantly thinking about what is it going to look like, how is it going to be performed, as you were saying, performance. I was uh, I was constantly thinking of how is it going to look, how is it going to look, when I'm still doing this piece, and I was not listening to music. So for me, the learning, I think, was that live piece. I wanted to feel how it is to dance in silence and not listen to the music. The audience listens to the music, but and there is, I control the camera, I know when to put it on me and play around with it. So the power shift, I wanted to play with that. And that was my learning, that I think I can do that. I think I can try and subvert the gaze or find a new way of, like Dhata Kathunga. Like I think you were also sharing, right? The Alingan, for me was different. Like, how would it be to see from this perspective? Like, if the camera is attached here, this just the movement of the Dhata Kathunga. How would that be, from the breath, the light, as Sangeeta ji was also sharing, light and breath are so connected in the camera as well. So that was the greatest learning. Yeah.
Okay. And Sangeeta ji, like you mentioned, this was one of your first experiments with dance film and doing it yourself. And you sort of have answered my question, but how would you like to engage with the this medium again? I mean, you've already told me that you would like to. So, do you have a, do you can you envision a certain engagement in the future? How is it for you?
Yeah. So I think definitely I am looking forward to any opportunity where I can engage, and this time it would be little different because now it would come like a planned thing, uh, unlike the first one which was just very raw. But one thing for sure that what I have understood through this exploration or experiment, that as Sumedha was also sharing, that being a dancer or choreographer, we are in a way, the designing of the space becomes very important for us, and we really want to see that what looks good. Aesthetics become very important to us as a dancer, because that's what the performance stage teaches us. Aesthetically it has to be good, but here aesthetics really change when you are on camera. The aesthetics of stage and the aesthetics of camera changes completely. So there I would really work on, or like to work on that, how the aesthetics of camera and the aesthetics of dance can correlate and come together and bring up a new kind of an aesthetic. And also, as I have understood that, this medium is very good to work on intense work, which at times get lost on stage. you know and uh, well, stage is very good for for anything to do with space design and everything. In fact, intense abhinay is at times good, but camera gives you a very wider, intense outlook towards few of the things which are not possible on stage. I think I would like to explore those front when I do it next time. So that's definitely I have in mind. Yeah.
Also, I remember having this conversation with Sumedha where we spoke of when you're talking about design of space and aesthetics. I think since we are trained dancers, we tend to think of the entire frame and the entire body.
Hmm.
Whereas when you're on stage, when you're dancing, or even if you're using the camera, but you're using it only as a recording device, you usually take your whole frame. You know, आपके हाथ पैर, even when you extend your hands upwards, you have to be able to see that. What the camera does allow is the isolation, is the you can really move the gaze to a certain
Yeah,
point of the body or certain point in
absolutely.
space. So that is, I would say, probably, a really big difference. And
Yeah,
then
that is what I intended to say, that, the
the
intense
density of
exploration of certain, yeah, which are not
yeah.
possible otherwise on stage. So I think that needs to be explored, and I would love to explore that. Yeah.
Okay, that's really nice. And my last question to Sumedha is
Yeah.
also a little bit about about the future. Now that we see there's like a massive shift to the digital space, as artists do not have access to their regular outlets of creativity. I think many of us have really moved to the digital space, and then using the medium of film and camera to put out work in the digital space. What this has meant is there's just so much more content out there suddenly. I won't say that it wasn't there before. It's all, and it's going to remain. I'm just saying that there's been sort of a wave of content online. What does the future look like for this newfound relationship between like dance, film, and digital space? If you would like to tell us whatever you have in mind.
Okay. That's a very heavy question. Oh my god. I think I don't know. I think one of the things that I've understood, that future is very unpredictable at this point. I mean, it's just anything can happen anytime. But particularly if you talk about I mean, in terms of the dance world and the film and this dance film aspect of exploration, I think, I mean, we have been very interestingly, in a way, pushed to this medium right now, in a way, and it's necessary to explore different ways of engaging with the camera, but not just as just as something that is passive to us, but also from a, like, it's this there's this thing that I always feel we need to talk to other disciplines. We need to talk to the cinematographer, the person holding the camera, because he's not just a technician, he's not just someone who's moving the camera. So I feel the understanding what actually Sangita ji was also sharing, this marriage, this intersection between these two aesthetics of dance and film, which is so connected, because uh, it's all about time, it's about body, it's about space, it's just there, they're two connected mediums, and I think that needs to be very much, for me, explored. I mean, even, I don't know, I mean, I would also like to forward this, I mean, want to hear also, Sangita ji, what you think about it as well. This is me just giving me my thoughts, because I'm constantly concerned also, like, it just should not be the exploration of a distanced view of, like, concerts or recordings, and just to record it. Like, camera has its own aesthetic, as you were saying, it's a new eye. That's all.
Yeah.
Would you
I
add
think, yes,
something?
Sumedha, yeah, I was actually very interested to know more from you, because you are much more experienced on that front. And I was, yeah, so what Sumedha is saying, that, the dancers in general, because we have, it's not our fault, but we haven't been into this kind of exploration before, which is very good that we are coming into. So as I said, that till before the lockdown or whatever, the time was when the camera was very passive to us. So right now is the time when I have actually, as I shared earlier, that I have understood that it has its own dimension. So there has to be a dialogue rather than you are dancing and somebody is filming it. Then it is like something which is okay, which is another medium. It could be, another medium altogether. Now, coming back to that, I would also like to ask Sumedha, like for me, when I did the small bits and pieces, and I would say the editing by Chatterjee, it made such a big difference. It made such a big difference when the editing came in play, and he did it, I would say, marvelously. He has done a great job. So all that was not known to us earlier. This is a new learning which Sumedha is right now saying, to talk to the cinematographer or to the someone who is editing the film. Everybody has some input to give, and that is where the aesthetics happen. It's not only a one way thing, and that happens when it is only a videography of a certain concert. That is a passive thing which we have been dealing since quite long. But this exploration has been very different, where, at least for me, I and Lubdha worked in a very close this thing, because I have been talking to him. He's known to me since very long. He knows me very well. I know his work very well. So that gave a quite a good room for us to correlate that where we both are coming from. So I would say a lot of credit goes to his way of interpreting what I was giving to him. Yeah. And Sumedha, I really wanted to know from you that as you was Shivani, is that okay? Can I ask
Yeah, please
Sumedha?
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sumedha, as you were saying
Of
that
course.
uh, yeah,
Yeah.
lost it somewhere. Yeah, as you were saying that the screen dance is also not about the editing, and a lot to do with the sound escape of the editing. So if you could explain, in your film, it was like, was it one camera, or you were using multiple cameras, or you were using it on your own? I would really,
Yes.
yeah, would like to know that, what were the techniques used?
Sure, sure. All right. Yeah, actually, in fact, I was wanting to explore this because I've never done a live performance in terms of like live performance, like which has like you can also broadcast it. Like this particular camera, they're all my old my parents' old phones being taken, so collected. We have five cameras and one body dancing. So for me, these five cameras were placed in different angles, like particularly seeing the way even this camera is named a god. Like for me, this relationship with the camera is more of, because probably it is because of a training of Kathak. It's this camera is a character for me, and it's this new god for me. And I was exploring that element, and this was exactly, it was five cameras, including this camera, and this was broadcasted from like somebody staying in Bombay was getting the stream of these all these with all these applications. There was a lot of technology which I also came to know. I
Okay.
had not known to. So it was like a way to explore that bit, like and the sound was also being given live, responding to my movement, but I chose to not listen to the music because then it will affect my movement, which I felt, because it's also, you listen, and it's also, there's a something that I feel that sometimes I wanted to explore. How would it be, just to be, it was so discomforting so discomfort, because we are so used to listening to the music while dancing. So the sound designer was giving a live sound, responding to my movements wherever he was, also in Bombay, and
And
I
the
was
editing was also happening live. Was
live,
the edit?
live,
The editing
yeah,
was also,
happening
the
live.
film that we saw right now is the exact way it was screened, or there was
Yeah,
some editing later on.
Yeah, I think this one, what you see is it's more like chunks that I've sort of brought in a little, like basically compressed it for sending into film festivals. But because it was otherwise a 30 minutes thing, like one by one camera exploration. But yeah, but I also really enjoyed the way you have used your, especially the hair, these little choreographies of micro choreographies, which you like what you saying, this intense exploration. It was so interesting because something that really stood out to me in that film was it's so like the fact that just the chalan of your feet can give that feeling of okay, that's what is exactly happening in the lockdown. We're going ahead, we're going back, we're going ahead, and then again a circle. It was so powerful, like these little like very important gestures which otherwise we will on stage will do it as just chalan.
Out. Yes, 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 yes.
It was something
Thank you
that I
so
wanted
much.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I hope I answered the question. Yeah.
Yeah, but I am intrigued much more now that you have said that everything was live and the editing. I really would love to know later on this
So,
because this really interests me. And for us, there is hardly any knowledge as of now, but I would love to explore that. Yeah.
yeah, maybe you should explore because I think it's part of also the fellowship that I've got. It's I've found a way to talk to cinematographers, and I've understood that they are also very taking a backseat whenever they hear classical dance being shot because it's a music video or it's something. It's a difference from what you did, from a
Mm-hmm.
directorial lens. But this they had also very like हम तो सिर्फ shoot कर लेंगे, अब बस तो we lost that, that connection. And even the
Yeah.
festivals all around the world. I think the future question that Shivani was asking, and I think the dance films that get sent from India either do not explore this intense, what you have also explored in in this way, is not explored. Like, is it from a white lens? Some white, filmmaker is shooting the exotic dance, or it is again, a contemporary dance from India that is being sent to film festivals as well. But I think there's more to explore. I think we should all explore this aesthetic. Kathaks. All of us are Kathak dancers. I feel. We should,
I'm
find a
sure
way
some
to.
collaboration will definitely happen from here.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
when I
Yeah, Shiva.
started Arts Come Online, uh, although it started off on a much scale, and we used to do it on a video conferencing platform, I realized that and that's when I started realizing that the camera cannot be passive. That you cannot just be dancing in some space and with the camera in one point and it's there. And while that is also one way of doing it, I won't completely dismiss it. I think what I was really looking for is that now that we have a very different medium, why try to do something different on the medium? Your classical dance will have its stage. I know right now it seems really uncertain, but it will have its stage, there's no doubt. And it has it has that space time context. But when you bring it onto the digital platforms and when you're showcasing it digitally, there should ideally be some change in that.
Of course.
You
In the
cannot just
content.
take and put it there and say abhi ho gaya hamara kaam. So that's where my curiosity was that okay, how can we do this differently? How can we do it better? Can we? And of course, for me it was more first about okay, in the content of it, yeah, what you are presenting can be done differently. But when I heard of Do It with Camera, Sumedha's initiative, and when I spoke to her for the first time, I realized there's a whole world out there exploring this very relationship. So I'm really glad that we could have this conversation. This is just the starting point, like you mentioned, and there's possibilities of collaboration. There's possibilities of more discussion and more depth to this a similar conversation. And I'm really, really thankful that you both shared your films and your uh, process and so honestly with us. Um, I think I mentioned that Facebook had a bug, so I'm not sure if the comments are coming in um, as we hoped they would come in. But what we shall definitely do is we will end the session now, but we will come back to it. And for those who are watching it later and have comments, we shall take your comments and respond to them. Um, if
Sure, sure.
would either of you like to say a closing note at all?
I would definitely congratulate you, Shivani, for taking this up. And I have been watching your work, the kind of curation that you are doing. It's very interesting and it's very different. And I think that is what needs to be done right now. As you rightly said, that uh, just coming online is not enough. If you're coming online, the content has to take a shift because the medium has changed. So how will we do justice to a changed medium if we are doing the same thing which we have been doing since long? So in that ways, I think Arts Come Online is doing wonderful job and bringing so many people from different varied backgrounds. It's commendable. And today's session, believe me, I enjoyed it a lot. Especially Sumedha's work has intrigued me, and I think I'm going to learn a lot from her after the show.